Hello guys, it's Jackson Fulcher. I am back. I just made the video top 10 best videos of 2014, and now I'm making the top 10 worst films of 2014. The movies I just really hate. And here they are. Now, disclaimer, just like in the other video, I did not see every movie that came out, so some movies that maybe you think should be on here aren't on here because I probably didn't see them. But, just like in the last video also, I do have some honorable mentions that didn't make the list, but since they're not really honorable, they're dishonorable. That's why people use it, because they're not honorable. Dishonorable. Too bad of an explanation. Let's go on. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Don't worry, there will be a Michael Bay crapfest on here. Oh yes, and you probably already know it. But where is it? Hercules, the one starring The Rock. So, there's another Hercules movie on here? Guess where it is? Okay, I'm gonna stop putting my face to the camera now. 3 Days to Kill. I told ya. Last video. I told ya. Boring family. Really terrible. Sabotage. Arnold, can you just make more movies like The Last Stand? I know it's not your best, but it's better than Sabotage. Please. Rio 2, a family-friendly movie that was just... what a wasted effort. Maleficent, the classic retelling of Disney's Sleeping Beauty villain Maleficent, and it's about a lot of people loved it. I didn't like it. And the last two films are movies that I didn't finish. I started them and I couldn't finish them, and that's why they're on the dishonorable mentions list. You might be saying, well, aren't they the worst of the year because you didn't finish them? No, because they might have had something good about them that I didn't finish. But here they are, Vampire Academy and That Awkward Moment. Stay away from all those movies, but then 10 more that are worse, so let's begin. At number 10 is the Michael Bay crapfest that I was talking about, Transformers: Age of Extinction. This movie promised so much. I love the first Transformers movie. Hated 2. Like 3, could have been better. And 4 promised so much greatness. The trailers were great. How could it have turned out like this? Oh yeah, Michael Bay was directing. This movie was just so typical now. Michael Bay just likes making the same old movies again, and you know what? I've had it, okay? I just can't take it anymore. I'm not going to complain about it as much as I do now, because it is just a tradition. Michael Bay will never make anything new, and he doesn't care what people think should happen to his movies to possibly make them better, because he thinks that you're just going to go see the movie anyways. And that happened, because it's the 5th highest grossing movie of the year. Whoop-de-doo. Not only is the human cast really terrible, even though they replaced it, but the Autobots are just not good. Optimus Prime was bloodthirsty and violent. Bumblebee was a jackhammer, which is my excuse to say jackhammer, you know. And Crosshairs was just so underused, and Hound was so annoying at times, but he is a great action guy, I guess. And Drift was a racial stereotype of a samurai, and they didn't even say Drift's name in the movie! That's how much the Autobots really matter in the Transformers movies. A movie called Transformers doesn't focus on the Transformer part, it's focused on the human. This franchise should be called Humans, and the supporting cast, Transformers. At number 9 is a movie that is the kickoff of a monsters cinematic universe, like they're all connected, and this is not a good way to start off. Dracula, Untold. What a crappy movie, I have to say. This movie had fine acting from Luke Evans as Dracula, and maybe some good makeup for that old vampire, but the CGI was just kind of meh, and the action had so much shaky cam, and I honestly really did not enjoy this movie. The plot was just so not cool, in my opinion. And there's a really forced scene at the end of this movie that literally comes across as forced because they have to connect the monsters together. I didn't like it, okay? I really didn't like this movie. And I'm actually excited to see where the other monster movies go. Are they going to be terrible like Dracula Untold? Or was it because this movie wasn't planned to be part of the Monsters cinematic universe? Or something? What's going on? What's going on? I just have to ask, what's going on? At number 8 is another monster movie that came out in January, but no, it isn't connected to the Monsters cinematic universe. But this movie is still really terrible and would have been a bad way to kick it off, just like Dracula Untold. This is Frankenstein. I don't care. This movie is really awful. And it came out in January, so there's why. This movie has some fine acting from Aaron Eckhart, I guess, and Bill Nighy was fine. Nighy or Nye? I don't know. And there were some unintentionally hilarious moments, but the CGI looked like crap, and the action scenes looked like fake CGI going up against each other. And it just overall was a terrible, terrible movie that I cannot stand, and I never want to watch again. And this could have been a fine guilty pleasure. I could have just sat there and be like, oh man, this movie's so bad, but it's so funny. I could have been eating my popcorn the whole time, except when I watched it, I wasn't eating popcorn. I actually saw it on Netflix, DVD, service. But you get what I'm saying here. But the movie just has so much moments where they're trying to be so serious. Like, this is supposed to be the next big thing. It's not. It comes out in January. It's going to be unintentionally hilarious. Except it wasn't. Some parts were. What a terrible movie. At number 7 was a movie that literally might have been so bad because of its rating change. From R to PG-13, we've got The Expendables 3. Wow! What an expendable movie. That was a terrible joke. The only good part about this movie might have been the villain Mel Gibson, because he does a fantastic job in the role. And the action had a very good setup. There was good setup to the action scenes. Unfortunately, they were ruined by their PG-13 rating. And I'm not saying that PG-13 is bad for action, because the Die Hard series went from Die Hard 3, which was very bloody R, to PG-13 and Live Free or Die Hard. And that movie was really good despite being PG-13. This movie had no blood, like some white mist would pop out if you got shot, and some really fake CGI explosions, and honestly, really annoying characters like Antonio Banderas. And why did they have to bring in new people? Are you kidding me? Isn't the basic part of the Expendables franchise to have old people from the 80s and 90s movies kicking a bunch of butt and showing, yeah, we're awesome? Why do you have young people? For that matter, why do you have Jason Statham? He wasn't from the 80s or 90s. He's from this generation, but you know what? I still like the guy. I now pronounce you Man North. That was a line from the Expendables 2 that I ruined with his accent. I am sorry. At number 6 is a movie that I actually recently saw. In fact, it was my last movie review, and I was actually very disappointed that it actually got on this list, because it has an actor who recently passed away, but he was the only good part about the movie, him and a cameo in Night at the Museum, Secret of the Tomb. This movie, honestly, was just the definition of a kid's film and a cash grab. Nothing about the movie actually felt necessary. Everyone felt like they were phoning it in and just walking around with fake CGI, like, oh, look at that. This is my Ben Stiller impression, by the way. Okay, guys, let's go this way. We gotta take care of this movie. We just gotta get out of here. Let's finish it as soon as possible. You know what? This might be the shortest Night at the Museum movie. Let's do that, because I really don't want to be in this movie. I want to make more movies like Walter Mitty. That's what I'm passionate about. I'm not passionate about this. I'm leaving. Yeah. That was my rant of Night at the Museum. At number 5 is an animated film that came out in January, so it was already doomed. The Nut Job. And no, that is not a porno. It is a kid-friendly animated film that honestly is the definition of a kid's film, because only kids are probably going to like this movie. Everyone else who saw it really hated it. And I really hated The Nut Job. This movie just has so much stupid humor, and Will Arnett and Liam Neeson were fine in their animated roles, I guess, and I just really hate this movie. And along their animal plot, there's a gangster human plot as well, like literally going on at the same time the animals are doing that, like they're in the same building the animals are trying to get into. I don't care. I don't care. The movie sucks. At number 4 is a disaster movie that just turned out to be a complete disaster. That's Pompeii. This movie just felt so much of an attempt to be the next Titanic, to the point where it hurt. This movie just was riddled with a really bad romance with the two lead actors, and some really really terrible dialogue and really terrible performances and really bad CGI from the volcano and just one unintentionally hilarious moment, which should not be hilarious because these people went through so much pain and suffering. But this movie comes across as a really bad attempt at just making a disaster movie, and they just kind of gave up at some points. Hilariousy ensued, and that's not good, because this was a terrible event that they made hilarious. I'm sorry, Paul W.S. Anderson. I didn't like the Three Musketeers either. Haven't seen any of your Resident Evil movies, though. But I've heard those are almost as bad as Pompeii. At number 3 was actually a comedy that was trying to be funny, but unfortunately came across as unintentionally unfunny, and that was Ride Along. Honestly, if you like Kevin Hart, that's fine. I never actually found his comedic routine actually that funny. I never really laughed at his jokes. So I was kind of not looking forward to this movie when I started watching it, and oh boy, this movie was actually worse than anything I've ever seen as far as comedy goes. Oh my god! What was this movie? No, really, what was this movie? Was this put on the shelf? Actually, it was. Apparently, it's been on the shelf for many years. Ice Cube was making it, and he was like, oh, I don't think I found the right person to be my partner in the movie. Then he found Kevin Hart, and he was like, oh, you should be in it. Ice Cube, go back to the Jump Street movies. Please, you're funnier in those. At number 2, we have a horror movie that is really trying to be Paranormal Activity. So I'm gonna call it Paranormal Activity Devil's Due. Oh, no. This movie was not scary at all and had terrible acting and a really terrible plot. It's so dumb. It really is one of the worst movies I have ever seen. Thank goodness for Devil's Due that there was one other movie that I hated even more. It's just they tried making something scary, except they didn't try at all. They were just like, hey, you know what's scary? Babies being demons and inside the woman's uterus, and she's about to give birth, she's turning into a devil. Does that sound scary to you? Okay, yeah, we're gonna make that completely terrible and put it in this really terrible plot, and we're gonna get some money, right? Because we're gonna use like only $1 million of our budget. Yeah, that sounds correct. Let's do it! And finally, what I consider to be the worst film of 2014, The Legend of Hercules. Oh my god! As soon as I saw this movie, as soon as I popped it in, within the first 5 minutes, I was like, yeah, this is the worst film of 2014. And guess where it is right now? Number 1 on the list of worst films of 2014. And by God, this movie sucks. It's got a terrible acting. Kellen Lutz, what are you doing as Hercules? The Rock is better than you as Hercules. And he wasn't even in a good movie. But his Hercules movie is way better than yours by comparison because your movie sucks. CGI is also really terrible. The action is even worse. And the plot, even worse. I hated The Legend of Hercules. It is the worst film I have seen probably in my entire life. And that is why it is number 1 on the top 10 worst films of 2014. So guys, what is your least favorite movie of 2014? Leave it in the comments below. And I will be making another video talking about the films I'm looking forward to in 2015. But I do have a favor to ask you. What kind of list videos do you want to see me make? I asked this in the last video, and I'm asking you again here. I have a playlist called Lists that I haven't really expanded upon, so I want to make more list videos. This was fun to make, I want to make more. Leave it in the comments below what kind of list topics you want, I guess. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe. I'm Jackson Fulcher. See you guys next time.